Welcome into Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. I'm Meghan Payton. Breaking news in Seattle, Jamal Adams will miss the remainder of the 2021 season. He has a torn labrum. Unfortunately, it is going to require surgery. That means there will be no more of Jamal Adams for the Seahawks in this 2021 year. Unfortunately, the Seahawks finally felt a little bit of hope after that 49ers game. Jamal Adams, who's been kind of on and off this year, obviously still a very dominant player in this league. They clearly like him. They signed him to a 4-year, $70 million contract extension this offseason, making him the highest paid safety in the NFL. So far this year, we've seen a little bit different side of Jamal Adams. He's been playing coverage a little bit more, 87 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 5 pass breakups, 2 interceptions. That's actually the most interceptions he's had in a season. Like we said, he normally plays more up front. Therefore, we don't see him get a lot of picks. We see him have sacks. He hasn't had a sack this year, but he got his first pair of interceptions during one season. Now we look at his coverage stats. According to PFF, he's allowed 26 out of 45 attempts, 252 yards. He's allowed 2 touchdowns and a QB rating of 69.9. A lot better. We don't have actually the 2020 coverage stats for you, but it was a lot better. I believe the quarterback rating last year was like 111, something crazy. So we have seen improvement that way from Jamal Adams. And, you know, I think that Seahawks fans, I've heard you guys talk about Jamal Adams. I know you guys have different opinions on him, his ability, but ultimately he's still a guy that you don't want to lose. I know that the Seahawks playoff chances are very slim, and in reality, it's probably not going to change a lot, but this is still unfortunate for Seattle. So let's pause on everything right now. Let me ask you guys, what is your one-word reaction to the Jamal Adams injury news? This is the pinned comment for today's show. So let me know what you guys are thinking. If you get the ad break right here, don't worry. I'll give you guys mine right after the break. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just say this is frustrating. As I said, Jamal Adams, probably not the top 3 guy on the Seahawks team. He was maybe last year, but he hasn't been overly impressive. I still think that this is a big loss for the Seahawks defense. Starting to click, starting to finally see some momentum. You don't want to lose not only a guy like Jamal Adams, even though he's so young still, he's still a kind of a leader on that team, I'd say. So you look at what the Seahawks have lost just in the DB room alone. Trey Brown, who was so, I think, exciting to watch. Rookie, he's out, knee injury for the remainder of the season. Marquise Blair, also knee injury. Now Jamal Adams. So this can't happen for Seattle. You can't keep having this many injuries. And unfortunately, you definitely don't want it to be with a guy you're paying so much money to. So we are going to need to see more out of Ryan Neal. I am going to tell you guys this more about what he is going to be doing, what we're going to be looking for. But before we get into that, I do want to tell you guys about a great deal we've got going on over at BetUS. This is the sports book that we use here at Chat Sports. If you guys are going to be betting at all this season, you can get a 125% deposit bonus. If you go to chatsports.com/bet, use the code Seahawks125, get your bets in, get your money back. $100 turns into $225. The more money you put up, the more you get back. A bet that I think would be interesting to look at this week. This video is coming out on Wednesday. If you're watching it today, the Thursday night game tomorrow night, that's Steelers versus Vikings. Right now, the Vikings are favorites at -3. I think that this game could go either way. The over-under set at 43.5. To me, if I'm betting this week, this might be a game that maybe I take the under on, or maybe I take the Steelers. I don't know. This is just one that I'd look into if I were you guys, but do not miss out on this great deal coming over from BetUS. That's chatsports.com/Seahawks/BetUS, or go to and use the promo code Seahawks125. Alrighty, guys, let's get into Ryan Neal, who we are going to be seeing more of now that Jamal Adams is out. Now, if you don't know that name, I'm sure you guys do, but Ryan Neal, we have seen him this year. He's been used more in dime packages. That's kind of, used as that extra DB. So he's not taking on the same kind of role as Jamal Adams so far this year. That means, however, now they probably won't be doing many dime packages because Ryan Neal will have to come in for Jamal Adams. Now, I'm kind of excited to see what Ryan Neal can do because so far he's been pretty impressive. When this Seahawks defense was struggling at the beginning of this season, we all were saying Ryan Neal is the guy holding it together to some degree. He's had 23 tackles so far, 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack, and 2 pass breakups. Now, Ryan Neal is not new to coming in for Jamal Adams. He also had to do this back in 2020 when Jamal Adams dealt with a groin injury. Now, again, don't get this confused with the time that Adams also suffered the same injury that he's dealing with right now, the torn labrum. He dealt with that last year, but it was at the very end of the season. Therefore, he was able to get the surgery during the offseason, figure it out then. But Ryan Neal came in for Jamal during a groin injury the first kind of few weeks of the 2020 year. You know, I'd say he did decent. I really think Ryan Neal is a guy that the Seahawks need to keep regardless of Jamal Adams' injury or not. He's someone that I think will keep improving this Seahawks defense. But as we stick on Jamal Adams, I want to ask you guys, what is your confidence level in the secondary without Jamal Adams? Big name, big guy, but maybe the Seahawks can improve without him. Scale this 1 to 10 on your confidence level. If you're confident at an A+, you're feeling good, scale it at a 10. And if you're saying all hell's breaking loose, you can go ahead and give this a 1. All right, by the way, guys, we've got our mailbag show coming up this week. If you're new to the show, this is where you guys ask us whatever you want. If we like the question, if you use hashtag Seahawks, you can get featured on today's show. Now, the catch is you do have to be subscribed to Seahawks Today. So go ahead, subscribe right now. Ask us whatever you'd like. That's Seahawks Today. We answer whatever you guys want to talk about. Make sure you get that in because that will be coming up very soon this week. So as the Jamal injury stuff happens, you can't help but think about a guy you're paying this much money to, a guy you've invested so much into. Was the Jamal Adams trade worth it? We've asked this question before. This is prior to his injury. We've asked whenever he was struggling, was this trade worth it? So just as a reminder, how did the Seahawks get Jamal Adams? They gave up their 2021 first round pick. That's why we don't have one. That's why we didn't have one last year. That's why we're not going to have one in 2022. They gave up their 2021 third round pick, and they also gave up Bradley McDougald. They received Jamal Adams, and they also received a 2022 fourth round pick. So as we get into trade talks, it's a little bit clarity knowing why Seahawks do not have a first round, but also why they have that extra fourth round. So Jamal Adams in 2020, as we said, he missed some time dealing with the groin injury. Then at the very end of the season, had the same injury that he's dealing with right now. He had 83 tackles in 2020. He had 14 tackles for loss. Guys, he had 9.5 sacks. That's pretty crazy. And 3 pass breakups. So there's been a lot of heat. There's been a lot of criticism following Jamal Adams. But I do still think that he's a dominant safety in this league. There's a reason why he's getting paid a lot. Whether it's completely worth it, maybe that's a different argument. But in 2020, he definitely showed what he could do. He showed what he could do on the Jets. And I think that this year, it's really been less about his performance and more about the way that they've decided to use him, the way that Pete Carroll and this defense needed help. Now, we look at the highest paid safeties per million per year. Jamal Adams obviously sitting at number 1 with $17.5 million per year. Harrison Smith under him at $16 million per year. We've got Justin Simmons at $15.25, Budda Baker at $14.75, and then Eddie Jackson at $14.6. Now, if you look at what Jamal Adams' coverage stats were with Seattle as a whole, I think this gives a better picture of the kind of player that he is. So his completion percentage, or passer completion percentage, was a 69.9. He's given up 620 yards, given up 5 touchdowns. He's had 8 pass breakups and 2 interceptions. So that's pretty good. I mean, especially for the amount of games that he's played, he's missed some time. This isn't a clear representation. As we always say here, stats can be misleading. I still think Jamal Adams was worth it. I think the trade was worth it. It sucks right now when you have a losing season and you look ahead to the draft. You can't help but think, man, if we wouldn't have gotten Jamal Adams, we could have gotten our first round pick. We would have had a great pick in this draft. Unfortunately, you can't predict how your season's going to go. So I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, it was worth it. But I'm asking you guys, would you do the Jamal Adams trade again? Go to the comments right now, type Y for yes if you're taking Jamal Adams every day, or type N for no if you'd say, hey, the Jets can have him. I wish we would have never done that. All right, guys, so we will be talking more about Jamal Adams, but we have to give you guys updates on Russell Wilson trade rumors. This is why you guys stay subscribed to Seahawks Today. We've got all the injury updates. We've got all the trade rumors. You'll be the first to know, I promise. Make sure you go to youtube.com/Seahawks TV. Press the big red button. Make sure you guys are up to date. Also, these videos are free. It's what keeps these videos going. More subscribers equals more videos. It's that simple. All right, so the news that we are hearing surrounding Russell Wilson, or may I say rumors we are hearing surrounding Russell Wilson, is could he end up in Carolina? Now, I feel like it's a new team every week, guys, but Bleacher Report put out an article with NFL trade ideas that should happen in 2022. They pitched out a Wilson trade to the Panthers. The RUSS drama is clearly not over, guys. This happened last season. It's going to happen this season during the offseason. It's expected. Get used to it. We're going to be talking about it because who knows? Honestly, I've said before, I don't know where Russell Wilson's going to end up. But here's the trade idea that they had as far as the Panthers receiving Russell Wilson. All right, so obviously Panthers get Russ. What do the Seahawks get in return? They would get 2 first-round picks. They would get 2 third-round picks. And they'd also get Sam Darnold. All right, so they get Sam Darnold and they get some good picks, but is it worth it? Let's look at the player comparison between Sam Darnold and Russell Wilson. These stats obviously hard to judge because, Sam Darnold has been injured, not been playing. Russell Wilson also missed time. So completion percentage, Russell Wilson, 67.2. That's very low for him. That's not an accurate depiction of Russell Wilson's ability. Sam Darnold at a 59.5. 2,042 yards for Russ, 1,986 for Darnold. Again, very misleading due to the amount they've played. 14 touchdowns for Russell Wilson, 7 for Sam Darnold, 4 interceptions for Russell, and 11 for Sam Darnold. All right, guys, so you guys can look at this graphic, but, Sam Darnold's young. We really don't know what, he's going to turn into, but I'd like the idea for the Seahawks to keep Russ. I mean, I don't know if it's going to happen, and this is where I say if Russ wants to stay, obviously you keep him. It's a no-brainer. You're not getting rid of Russell Wilson. Now, I do think that there's a point in which if Russell Wilson isn't happy and he's creating some tension for this locker room, you might want to look into trading him just because you don't want that energy in the locker room. You don't want a guy that doesn't want to be on your team in there. It affects the way that guys play. It affects the way that guys act. So if Russell Wilson has any bit of positive, look for the Seahawks, I say keep him, obviously. But where do you guys think that Russell Wilson will end up in 2022? We've asked this question before. As the rumors come out, we're going to ask it again. Get your comments in. Let me know where Russell Wilson will be playing at the start of the 2022 season.